Next wide receiver, Tre Harris, Ole Miss, 6'2" 3/8, 205 pounds, 9 5/8 inch hands. He's 23 years old. He just turned 23 at the end of February. He ran a 40 in 4.54. He had a 1.56 10-yard split. He had a 125-inch broad jump, 38.5-inch vertical. Last year at Ole Miss in only 8 games, he had 60 receptions, 1,030 yards,
a ton of yards,
7 touchdowns. This is in 8 games. And in the 8th
averaging
game,
120 yards a game
in the 8th game, he only played like a half and had 1 catch. So he did that last year on 76 targets, 5 drops, 8% drop rate, 462 yards after the catch.
Those are crazy stats.
Insane stats, man.
So with Tre Harris, it was interesting seeing him in the Ole Miss jersey, seeing a very linear player that could make some really big plays, take the top off the defense, but isn't going to move a lot laterally. His route tree was basically goes, comebacks.
Don't forget the curls. That's in there too.
Comeback / curl. Yeah.
That's all the same.
You know, but
That's really it.
that was basically
I
it.
saw him run a post. Come on.
Okay, go and post.
Go post, sure. But
It's the same route, but the slight angle to it.
right. Like it reminded me a lot of the guy in the Ole Miss uniform of DK Metcalf. Like the game that he played, the style, the size, speed combo, the movement skills, very similar. The difference, though, is DK Metcalf, everything was just better. He was faster.
Bigger.
He was stronger. He was bigger. He was like, and there was just a little bit more of all of it. So very similar, like if you're going to typecast a guy, the archetype, like he's going to fall into that, a player on the same team. So with Harris, I think he is similar to Luther Burden in this. This is a very boom bust player.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a route to him being a very good NFL player? Absolutely. Saw some decent releases at times. Couldn't give him great scores for route running because there just wasn't much there. And he was very stiff. He especially did not like outbreaking routes. There just wasn't a lot of movement for that there, seemingly. But decent on in breaking routes. But he did surprise. At first, I was worried he didn't have very good ball skills, and that was going to be a huge red flag for me. But I saw several plays where I saw him go up and make a catch over top of somebody, extend to make a catch. So there was definitely enough there, ball skills wise and physicality, strength wise, where I was like, okay, there is some contested catchability, there is some ball skills, there is some body control.
He was inconsistent there, though. I would say.
But it's not anything that I'm like, oh, I'm going to hang my hat on this.
Right.
But it wasn't non-existent, which is what I was worried about, to fall into the Quentin Johnstons, the Treylon Burks, that tier.
He's got better ball skills than those guys for sure.
Exactly. I thought one of the things he did the best was his ball tracking. He did a really good job of being able to find and kind of position himself to make some of those big, long plays down the field. So did pretty well with that. Obviously, a lot of speed there, but there's not a lot of quickness. There's not a lot of suddenness to his game. But there is some good long speed. So there's a world where he could end up like a Quentin Johnston or a guy like that, where it's like big plays, but it just didn't all come together. But the ceiling is also a DK Metcalf type player. So I think he's one of the more boom bust guys in this class. And depending on where he's being drafted, I don't know that I'm going to have a ton of shares, because I know that there's a lot of people that have him in their top 5. I'm a little lower. I have him at 9 right now, the 73.9 score. So
I have him in a whole nother tier after like all those guys. I said after the Jaden Higgins, then I have Jalen Royals in that tier. I have Kyle Williams in that tier. And then I have Tre Harris.
Which is interesting, because I thought you liked him at first, and then just the more you watched.
Well, that's the thing. Tre Harris to me is the perfect definition of like just casually watching the guy. Like that's a nice player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like because what he does well, like the linear, but like dig into the tape. I gotta give some bias here too, because he reminded me of a player, not DK Metcalf, of a player that I liked a lot that ended up sucking. Denzel Mims.
I liked him too.
So like, and I always felt like those Baylor guys and stuff. Like he reminded me of like one of the Baylor guys. You know what I mean? Like those guys that like. There's things they do that it's real intriguing. It just never really pans out. I hate the fact that he was like 2-dimensional, right? First and third level. That was it. but there's some, like you said, there's moments he goes there and send the ball. He looks really nice. I like the fact
the LSU catch over the DB in the end zone. That was a really nice catch.
Yeah, really nice.
He can make some fantastic catches, but then at the same time, in the same sort of situations,
baffling drops.
Yeah, baffling drops. He's flubbing them, and you're just like,
I thought with him, which was funny with his contested catch, the way I thought he did a really good job with is anything that was like above his head, he had trouble with. Like he lost those contested catch battles for the most part. But anything he had to fight with, like where he was able to like most like on the comebacks, even on deep ball, or he's able to turn his body and show his numbers a little bit, like he succeeded highly there. And I thought it looked really nice. I thought for a player, like he played with the size well. So when we actually got the ball, I thought his yards after the catch was
he was a strong runner with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, very strong runner with the ball in his hand. So real nice upside for him. But again, like a little bit too one-dimensional for like me to like get overly excited about. And I kept going back to like, man, it kind of reminds me of those Denzel Mims font. Like, and I try not, like, again, for doing this for a long time, you try to learn from your mistakes and not get burned again. And Tre Harris seems like a guy that I normally in most years like, oh, I like Tre Harris. Like I could find this way for him to win. And I'm like, man, I keep getting, these are the guys that burn me. Same thing like the Tet McMillan kind of hate a little bit, kind of falls in that category. Like these big body receivers, but like they have trouble getting off the line and win there. Like, God, those guys burn me all the time. You know what I mean? Like same thing. The Tre Harris receivers kind of burn me too many times. He's a glider with good speed, decent enough hands, real good size, real good speed, but like I don't see anything that's not like you said. It's a go post curl, a lot of screens, like inflationary. Injury histories are concerned.
It's true.
Like you said, he only played 8 games last year. The year before that, he got hurt as well. So like he's an injury prone player in college.
Is he a guy that has like the body and the name and the pedigree of like an X receiver, but in reality, he might actually be a Z?
Possibly.
I don't know.
He's a hard one to nail down. I don't know. He did injure himself in October, and then he came back and kind of re-injured himself when he came back in November, like basically the same hip, groin type of thing. So I'm with you on the injury stuff. I don't know what he is. He's some stuff you see and you really like. You guys mentioned it. The fact that he's 6'2", 205 pounds. He's got the prototypical size. He's got enough speed. 4.54. He's
especially at 6'2".
At that size, that is okay. That works. That plays in the NFL.
His game speed's no problem whatsoever.
Right. But when you really don't have the route tree going into the NFL or the requisite movement skills, that's the more important thing to me anyway. To kind of expand that route tree, it's really, you're fighting an uphill battle. We've seen the outlier DK Metcalf do it, but you mentioned it, and I'm with you, Garrett. He's not as big, he's not as strong, and he's not as fast as the outlier that succeeded in that. And even DK took a little bit of time there to get himself established and to be this guy that he is now. You know, so
DK's the outlier for me. He's the guy who I hate, everything I hate on him for, like he literally turned it around in the NFL.
Right. So
one of my biggest
and almost
misses.
won in spite of it because he's still not like a great mover.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm bigger and faster than you, and so I'm going to just keep winning.
Can you say like he's a better hand poor man's Quentin Johnston?
He's the Derrick Henry of wide receivers is what he is. You know what I mean? Like he's just bigger, stronger, faster than everyone on the field.
Quentin Johnston.
No, I'm talking about DK Metcalf.
Oh, okay.
but I don't think Tre Harris is. So that's what makes it kind of difficult for me to figure out exactly what he is. I get why people like him because he's got all the good attributes, but I just don't know that he's ever going to put it together. And you know, I saw some things I hated on film when I watched him when he ran a screen pass. There was probably a 2 or 3 game stretch. I think he eliminated and got rid of this by the end of the season, which is great. Because I didn't see it anymore. Maybe they just stopped doing it because it was so dumb. But he would off the line, like a lot of wide receivers will pretend like they're taking a couple steps to get off the jam.
Smallest comeback ever.
And then take a step back and receive the screen pass and then go. He just literally stood there and didn't move. The whole rest of the play was going. It looked like he fell asleep on the line and then he turned. And then the ball came to him, and it just gave the DBs so much time to see him standing there. And after you do that twice, everyone's onto it, man. You know, like you can't do that. It's just there was no like cat and mouse game being played where he kind of did that once and then ran deep on it. It was, I don't know. It was odd. I didn't like it. It's not going to be the end all be all because I'm sure he got told that that's a bad move. Don't do that anymore. But just an example of kind of, I don't know, silliness.
He's like one of those, like when you get the like bag of chips and you're like, oh, you're excited about a nice bag of chips. And then you open them. It's just a half a bag of chips, and the rest of it's mostly air.
Yeah.
You're like, you're still gonna be satisfied and eat the chips, but you're like, you come away a little like, oh,
I'm with you. That's actually a really good description of how I felt after watching that.
That's how I felt.
Still like chips.
I like him. He's on my board, but like, man, like
I still love Doritos, but I wanted more than 6 of them.
Yeah. Where's he gonna get drafted? Where is he gonna? Because same thing. Like, he's a hot name, but I could see him getting drafted later. Like a lot of other receivers going ahead of him. People are like, oh wow, Tre Harris. Like, you know, Jalen Royals goes ahead of him. Jalen Noel. Like I can see all these guys that I have ranked ahead of him.
Guy we're about to talk about, Jack Besh.
I heard the
Besh.
God, what's Lane Kiffin was on the radio the other day, and they brought up Tre Harris. And we're kind of just, you know, previewing guys that were coming out in the draft. The host was asking about Tre Harris. He's like, that guy, he was putting up crazy stats and was leading the country, you know, in everything before he got injured. But that was like as far as he would go, which is weird. Like if you're the head coach of a you know, on a team and your wide receivers coming out in the draft and he did great. Wouldn't you kind of expand on that and start talking about some other things if there was more good things,
more of his attributes,
more, you know, to really nail down and
locker room
high, right. Yeah. And there just wasn't a lot other than the numbers, which we can all just go look up and see. You know what I mean?
And like, a lot of them were padded manufactured because he got so much stuff at the line as well. Like it was like padded stats as well.
So I don't know. Like that kind of raised a little alarm bell. It could be nothing. You know, maybe he was rushed. Maybe he was thinking about something else when the host asked him. I have no idea.
But it's weird. But it's weird. Again, I always find it weird when if we land on the same conclusion. We're all like, we're all kind of like, like there's something there. There could be something. He's got the body type.
The boom is there, but the bust is definitely there.
Who's the other old Ole Miss guy that is on the Cowboys now? I can't even remember. I'm blanking out.
Gallup?
No, that's a Baylor guy.
Oh
yeah. Ole Miss guy on the Cowboys.
He was just in Carolina and then went to the Cowboys.
Mingo.
Yes. Is there Jonathan Mingo in him? You know what I mean? Who we kind of liked, but there wasn't a ton of production. But this is like the opposite. There is a ton.
I think I like him more than Mingo.
Okay.
The Ole Miss offense is a little bit of a weird like cupcake offense as far as like reads and stuff like that, and you focus more of that on the quarterback. But some of that can translate to the receivers. Like the Lane Kiffin offense is a weird one. So